In this lesson, I'm going to show you how you can play the song Free by Phish. This will include the intro lick, the verse chords, and also how to solo over the jam section. So before I go any further, I think it's really important to note that triads are a very important part of this lesson, especially for understanding the intro, which you'll see in a second. So if you are not very familiar with triads, I recommend checking out Tough Club. It's my online guitar course that has a ton of lessons that are jam band oriented for guitar, and focus on topics like this, like triads or the cage system and understanding different chord shapes, soloing over specific songs and doing actual like analyses of solos, and much more. So if you haven't checked it out, I definitely recommend it. There's a 7-day free trial that you can start whenever, so you're really not really locked into anything. So definitely go check it out. But anyway, the intro lick, which, by the way, the song was recorded up a half step, and then as far as I know, every time they play it live, they play it down a half step from the recording. But I'll show you what it looks like in the live key, I guess. But just know that in the recording, everything is up a fret. So for the intro part, this is what it sounds like. So as I said, triads are very important with this. That is how I'm going to explain the shapes that I'm playing. So it starts out with a D triad. Right here, comes from this E-shaped chord. Again, cage lessons on Tough Club, really helpful for this. So as you play this D triad, you're going to slide in to that note with your middle finger and then play the third string, then the first string, then the second string. And then you'll do a pull off from the 12th fret to the 10th fret of the high E string. And then play that B string again. Then you'll slide down to a C triad and play it straight up, just third string, second string, first string. And then do the same pull off, but play the first string, second string, then the third string. Like that. Now you've got just a basic E minor triad, then a D triad, then a G triad, and you're going to play the same exact way as you did the C. So and end on a D. So the chords that you're technically mimicking are a D, C, E minor, D, G, and then a D again. Then at the end of the intro, they do this little that little part right there. They're just walking up to a C. So open 5th string, second fret of the 5th string, 3rd fret of the 5th string, play a C chord, and then a G triad here, and then an F triad, and then a D chord. And that's it. That's the whole intro part. So again, those triads, as I've now said for a third time, are super important. If you recognize those shapes, just try to understand which broader chord shapes they come from. So for example, for this D triad, it comes from that chord shape, C, that chord shape, E minor, that chord shape, D, that one, G, that one, and then D, it's just D chord. That sort of analysis will allow you to understand obviously like the origin of these triads a little bit better, and then also further be able to recognize those in other songs, which is the goal here. I mean, I want to show you how to play the song, but I also want to show you how you can do the same sort of analysis over other ones. So for the verse chords, it starts out with a D chord, then it goes to a C, G, F, repeats. And then it goes G, F, D. This happens 4 times. And then when the verse is done, they go into the chorus where they're just singing free for like 10 seconds. And that's when you play this intro lick again. So the parts of it are actually really not that complicated. It's more the intro riff is kind of tough just with the picking and the, like getting to these triads quickly. But the chords are really not too bad. And that's then further reflected in the jam section where there's barely even a chord change. So you'll hear in live recordings, and I'm pretty sure this is in the studio recording too, that there's kind of just this like, right? It's like just a vamp on the D chord. So that's the first part of the jam section. The second part is that. Then down to a B flat. And it just repeats. Just D to a B flat. Pretty simple. So when you're soloing over this, you can approach this in two different ways. Well, you could approach it in a bunch of different ways, but the two ways that I would recommend is, first off, when you're playing over that D chord, right? Even though it's a D major, there's something about this song that feels a little bit more minor. And you can also hear that in their live recordings that Trey is usually playing in D minor over this. So what I would recommend is just going straight to this D minor pentatonic or any D minor pentatonic, right? Right, and you're just playing around in D minor. You can play in D Aeolian if you want, so like the full minor scale. Like basically the same as an F major. But for that part, just stay in D minor. You can explore the whole neck. Doesn't really matter. When they go into the part where it's a D to a B flat, that's where you want to actually start to address chord tones. So I've mentioned this before in other YouTube lessons, but also in this lesson. What you want to do is find a triad for each of the chords that you're soloing over. So in this case, since it's a D to a B flat, you want to find a triad for the D and one for the B flat. But I said that D minor feels a little bit more appropriate. So I'm going to find a D minor triad first and then a B flat major one. If I'm in this D minor pentatonic, there's a D minor triad right here. Again, if these triads don't make sense or these shapes are just totally unfamiliar, check out Tough Club. There are a ton of lessons on minor, major, dominant 7, major 7 triads that you can use all over the neck that actually make sense. So you start with a D minor. And then the next triad that you need to find is a B flat. Well, if you're staying in this same position, there's a B flat triad right here. So then when you're soloing, what you want to think about is when the D major chord is being played, you want to focus on these D minor chord tones. And then when it switches to the B flat, you want to hit one of those notes because that sort of guides the solo in the direction of the chords. And so you're following what's happening in the progression. So it might sound like this. all the notes that I was hitting outside of that D minor pentatonic are following the same idea, where I'm figuring out the scale I want to play in, finding notes that apply to either the D major chord or the B flat chord, and soloing like that. So if you have questions, leave them in the comments. If you want to join Tough Club, there's a link in the description. If you want to see more of these, I'm posting YouTube videos twice a week, every Tuesday and Friday. So subscribe to see more of them. But otherwise, I will see you in the next one.